We're going to get the open mic going here in about 4 or 5 minutes. 5 people. Oh, I see. So we're going to get it done in 4 or 5 seconds, actually. So one quick thing as we reconvene, I see a lot of empty chairs. You know, we don't need this many chairs, so if we could stack up some of the chairs or whatever, if everyone can take their seats so we can go on. We do need a little help in cleaning up. So for those of you who appreciate the life of Marion and realize she was the one who was always setting up and cleaning up, a way to honor her is to help us clean up, because there was a setup crew, and we give thanks for them. This home is the spiritual community of Subud, Greater Seattle, which is a process. It's a community that exists to facilitate a practice called Latihan Kejiwan. And so you're in the men's hall right now. The women's hall is upstairs, the chapel. It's also an Airbnb facility. So if you want to have an event here, Airbnb is a website where you can stay cheap anywhere in the world, in somebody's house or a place like that. Really great website. Great way to get a cheap place to stay somewhere else. I stayed in Hollywood for $45 a night. So I would ask that those who are standing, please reconvene so we can allow time for the open mic, because as Paul Hunter said, open mic was always a part of Red Sky Poetry Theater, and Marion knew it. So with that said, Phoebe is going to bring on the first open mic person.
And that first person who was someone who was supposed to be on the program, but he didn't make that, but I'm so happy he's here, because it wouldn't be a Marion celebration without Michael Hureaux. Yes.
A riff. We can't go. Hey, Paul, Larry. Hey, Phoebe. Hey, Paul and Bart and Trudy and Phoebe. Hey, Martha. We're going on down the line. We don't care, 'cause we're having a good time. We can't go. Hey, Margaretta. Hey, Margaretta. Hey, Margaretta and Robin. Hey, Margaretta, Robin and Steven. We're going on down the line. We're having a good time. We can't go. She'll forgive me for that. Like, I only remember bits and pieces of it. I was one of my favorite pieces by her. Well, I think of Marion, you know, I was one time she was scolding me about, what is your commitment to beauty, Michael? Because you're angry about everything.
Sounds familiar.
Right? It's like, but I said, well, you know, I want to try to do this other thing, you know, I got to try to do a little more for my family and my mother. She said, I'm your mother. I'm your mother. And she was, in the Yoruba tradition, there's a tradition called Yewa, and all of the Orisha and all of the Loa are mixed together. And they also come up, and this particular version of Yewa, or the wicked mother, the mother who is the mother of every child and the mother of no child, blends with Oshun, who is the mother of creativity and music and poetry and sex and all of the good things there. So one of the names she's known by is Mama Chola, in one of her more aged or advanced characterizations of when she really becomes the eldest. So do a little bit of chanting for her today. I hope you help me out with this a little bit. So the chorus is Chola wing wing, a wing wing chola. Okay? So let's try that one. Chola wing wing, a wing wing chola. Chola wing wing. That's me. And then you got chola wing wing, a wing wing chola. Let's roll it. Chola wing wing, a wing wing chola. Chola wing wing, chola wing wing, a wing wing chola. Chola wing wing, chola wing wing, a wing wing chola. Chola wing wing, chola wing wing. Chola, wing, wing, oh, wing, wing, chola. Chola, wing, wing, chola, wing, wing, oh, wing, wing, chola. Chola, wing, wing, chola, wing, wing, oh, wing, wing, chola. Chola, wing, wing, chola, wing, wing, oh, wing, wing, chola. Chola, wing, wing, chola, wing, wing, oh, wing, wing, chola. Chola, wing, wing, chola, wing, wing, oh, wing, wing, chola. Chola, wing, wing, chola, wing, wing, oh, wing, wing, chola. Chola, wing, wing, chola, wing, wing, oh, wing, wing, chola. Chola, wing, wing, chola, wing, wing, oh, wing, wing, chola. Chola, wing, wing, chola, wing, wing, oh, wing, wing, chola. Yeah, thank you.
Whoa, and I think this is David and Heidi.
I've heard of it, it's treacherous, yeah. We're going to keep on with the audience participation, maybe,
All right.
We heard this song about a year or so ago. Jim Page covered it when he was walking through the Tacoma. I said, you know, how'd you learn this song? And he said, well, I got the tape from Leslie Freed, but you can find it on YouTube too. But anyhow, it's a Jesse Bernstein song, but the chorus seemed particularly apropos to Marion because it deals with encouragement and beauty. And so, here's the song. And it has a chorus that repeats many times, so feel free to jump in. I hear a child practicing their music. A trumpet, it's too sloppy to be sure. There's a soul trying to get out of the building, but their feet are nailed to the floor. It's a beautiful thing, yes it is. It's a thing that gives me hope to live. Somebody looking for their voice in an open window with their supper on the stove.
And you can hear angels walking down the street, singing and tapping out their feet. Someone whose life has gave no reason, making up a reason of their own. And it's a beautiful thing, yes it is. It's a thing that gives me hope to live. Somebody's looking for their voice in an open window with supper on the stove.
There's a man shadow boxing in the doorway. With his eyes closed, I know he's gonna win. And he's kicking the trash out of the way. He goes down, but he always gets up again. It's a beautiful thing, yes it is. It's a thing that gives me hope to live. Somebody looking for their voice in an open window with their supper on the stove.
I see a woman standing at the bus stop. city is on fire. The cops come looking clumsy and disgusted. Everything they say, she says, they are a liar. And it's a beautiful thing, yes it is. It's a thing that gives me hope to live. Somebody's looking for their voice in a window with supper on the stove.
Everybody's lost among the ruins. Ruins that we believe will last forever. While everything that's said may be forgotten, there's something that connects us like a river. And it's a beautiful thing, yes it is. It's a thing that gives me hope to live. Somebody's looking for their voice in an open window with their supper on the stove. One more time. And it's a beautiful thing, yes it is. It's that thing that gives me hope to live. Somebody looking for their voice in an open window with their supper on the stove. In an open window with their supper on the stove.
Is Mark B. Johnson still here?
Sure is.
Oh, that's different Mark here. Oh, yeah.
Hello, I'm Mark Johnson. I have 2 poems to read this afternoon. I came to Red Sky Poetry Theater around 1992 or 93 and met Marion Kimes, and Paul was there, and Steve Potter and Bart Baxter and Paul Hunter. And I remember that Marion was quite a sparkler and an encourager, and as Steve said, provided a nest for the younger poets who were just starting out and to swim in the rivers of poetry, to learn, to provide them with a place to read at an open mic. And so here I am 22 years later, going to read a couple poems. My thinking lately in the poetical realm has been for ecological poetics, and so here goes. Burn no more. The day will arrive luminescent, a rambling celebration, a diamond visitation from the Great Mother, sunburst breast. If we find flexible the corrugated dilemmas, masking the young yearning for the planet given back, green will arrive in the air with songbirds. Water will flow pure in greeting. All things will slow down to listen for the pulse and aroma of redwoods thrust into earth and sky. Droughts will gather water. Dust will turn into soil. Armed combat will cease because solidity will cease. And the earth we love will return, sung into being again by songs of amber and morning glory, by people gathered round a hidden fountain, by grace let loose, joy's wild design. Second one, living the earth harmonic. Now suppose you wanted to touch music, to return to harmonies and melodies on the piano. Suppose you could imagine yourself playing week after week, settling into rhythms and songs lifting your spirit. We could imagine that. Because we believe silence is not for us. And the war on imagination is changed. Because when we sing, we are harmony. And harmony is medicine. Imagine singing for your life. We do not believe that silence is for us. We do not believe in the dream of consuming the earth. We do not believe that drowning is for us. We claim the imagination. Soul ground is ground of our songs. And singing is medicine. And medicine is what we like to make. Thank you.
Jon Strongbow.
Jon Strongbow.
Strongbow.
Beautiful book, John. I got it. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, it is.
Guys, I didn't bring a guitar or anything, so I'm really just going to speak in continuing on with the memorial. I really appreciated most everything that I understood that people said today. Red Sky was like a family to me totally when in the 80s and the 90s. I loved everybody and about it, like Roberto with his outrageous charisma and sexuality. I want to eat your pineal gland. And Michael Hureaux, of course, with his amazing rhythms and his, like you mentioned, anger, but it was beautiful. And I remember we composed a song together, Take That Dead Sick Thing Away. It was when it was raining and we performed it. So many people, Don Wilson with his salmon and his
Fish Day.
that's right.
Yeah.
And Stephen with his elegant sense of language and of course Margareta with her incredible, transcendent, immortal beauty.
Yeah.
And all the other wonderful people. But of course, Marion was like a little piece. She's actually a place more than a person to me. She was like a green rainforest where there was shafts of light coming through, and suddenly you hear that musical voice of hers, which was what it was to me. It was like music and dance, and she would kind of like, her poems were, she wouldn't just sit there and read a poem, she would sing it and dance it. And I really loved that about her. Even in her conversations, where like when I would visit her when she was working at Dawn's Horizon Books, just casually talking, the way she would sustain certain of her words, and then it was like music, and I'm like, it was like it was beyond poetry, it was music, and I really loved that about her. And one of the great quotes of Chief Seattle is that there is no death, there's just a changing of the worlds. We'll go on with that. I will see her in this pixelated pixie dough ear, growing those beautiful fairy ears, and spinning this web of truth and this dance of joy that she was so blessed to have as part of herself. I will tickle the ivories for a second.
Marion was invariably kind. And what made her a real lady was that she made me want to deserve it.
Yes, indeed.
I brought this poem to read for her. I did not write it, but it was the best one. It's by Paisley Rectal, another Seattle poet. I don't know if they knew one another, but they both knew this. Why some girls love horses. And then I thought, can I have more of this? Would it be possible for every day to be a greater awakening? More light, more light. Your face on the pillow with the sleep creases rudely fragmenting it. Hair so stiff from paint and sheetrock it feels like the dirty short hank of mane I used to grab on Dandy's neck before he hauled me up and forward. White flanks flecked green with shit, and the satin of his dander, the livingness, the warmth of all that blood just under the skin and the long, thick muscle of the neck. He was smarter than most of the children I went to school with. He knew how to stand with just the crescent of his hoof along a boot toe and press incrementally his whole weight down. The pain, so surprising when it came, its iron in tension, shield in stealth, the decisive, sudden twisting of his leg until the hoof pinned one's foot completely to the ground. We would have to beat him with a brush to get him off. That hot insistence with its large horse eye trained deliberately on us to watch. Like us, he knew how to announce through violence how he didn't want, despite our practiced ministrations. Too young not to emphasize with this cunning, this thing that was and was not human, we must respect for itself and not our imagination of it. I loved him because I could not love him any more in the ways I'd taught myself. Watching the slim bodies of teenagers guide their geldings in figure eights around the ring, as if they were one body, one fluid motion of electric understanding I would never feel working its way through fingers to the bit. This thing had a name, a need, a personality it possessed, an indifference that gave me logic and a measure. I too might stop the wanting man placed on back or shoulder and never feel the desired response. I loved the horse for the pain it could imagine and inflict on me. The sudden jerking of the head away from the halter, the tentative nose, inspecting first before it might decide to relent and eat. I loved what was not slave or instinct. That when you turn to me is a choice. It is always a choice to imagine pleasure. Pleasure might be blended, one warmth bleeding into another as the future bleeds into the past. More light. Your hand against my shoulder, the image of the one who taught me disobedience. Disobedience is the first right of being alive.
Absolutely.
Hureaux committee.
Disobedient.
Our last, Laura Lee Bennett.
Well, it's bright up here. Just so you, if you don't already know, it's very bright up here.
More light.
Jesus, more light.
Those are Gerda's last words.
I didn't know whether I was going to come up here or not, but I am now, so I will try to keep things short and sweet. I first met Marion in the 80s. I tried out for the Bumbershoot Open 2 years in a row. I had no idea because I came straight out of grad school to here, and I was, God forbid, a prose writer.
It's a good grad school, though.
Yes, it is. All right, let's hear it from University of Oregon and Eugene.
All right.
Anyway,
You did your postdoc work here.
there you go.
Okay.
So, at any rate, on the strength of my tenacity, performance, what have you, in those first couple years as Bumbershoot tryouts, Marion drew me out. She took me aside and she just kept at me until finally I agreed to feature. And I think my first feature was down the street next to the Canterbury. I don't know what it's called now, but I remember Michael Hureaux was there. He said, "I'll come check you out."
5-0.
5-0. Yeah. And I went up and I sang the blues and I did all kinds of stuff. And then I read a couple more times and then I disappeared for several years. And then about 5 years ago, was it, I got involved with a literary arts organization over on the east side called Redmond Association of Spoken Word, otherwise known as RASP. And we have a nice little community over there. And in fact, Allison Owen and I have been, we've done a few projects over there together. We even had David White over to read when his book, Old Man Coyote Comes to Town, came out. Anyway, we had Marion come over and do some workshops with us, but she never read at RASP as far as I know. But at any rate, what I would like to say is that I'm very glad that I'm here today. And I've been very pleased and moved by all of the good work and all the performance and all the surgical elegance, really, of the poetry and poets and other artists, musicians that have been in this room. And Marion, I know you're with us, I know you're out there, but if I can get through it, I'd like to read this poem. It's a translation of Rumi. It's called The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if there are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house, empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Thank you.